Well, good evening, America. Tonight, we are going to bring you something brand new for the LGBT community. We continue to say that we have a unique gathering of the largest collection of diverse LGBTQ personalities ever assembled. Tonight, something different, other than our Happening Out television network shows, as you participate in something unique. I said different, and unique in 2 sentences. You try to duplicate that. This is an interactive live platform for conversation. Combine interesting and diverse individuals from our community. Combine the most important and even fun topics to discuss. Combine your ability as America to participate, and we have found something completely new. So many of the important issues for the LGBTQ American community we are going to discuss tonight on Gay Town Hall. Well, welcome to Gay Town Hall. America, before we introduce our host, I would just like to remind you that this show is aired live. Anything can happen. We're using a heck of a lot of technology here, and because we're live and anything can happen, it frequently does. I'm Al Ferguson, and this is Gay Town Hall for Thursday, August 6, 2020. Let's begin by meeting this amazing cast. And to all of our hosts at Gay Town Hall, we are now into August, and we're approaching the end of the summer. I know people in New England are already bracing of going, I've got about 30 days left before the first cold spell. So let's think about what we still want to accomplish for the end of summer tonight in our introductions. Let's begin with Power Infinity. He is a hybrid DJ diva and lives in Lakeland, Florida. Good evening, Power.
Good evening, children. Al, you could have said a little bit more about me. But, I live in Florida, like you said. And being that is the case, I'm just trying to get through summer alive and in the land of the living. That's what I'm looking forward to.
And to all the other hosts, Powers asked me to say more, so I'm going to talk about apparently he couldn't afford a shirt tonight. That's what I'm going to add. And this is Matthew Sackman. He is a business entrepreneur and the creator of Gay Town Hall and lives here in Hollywood, Florida. Good evening, Matthew.
Good evening, America. So I think I'm probably going to end up doing the same thing I've been doing this entire time, which is long walks in my living room, eating dinner in front of a mirror, and ending the night with Pornhub.
It's very sad, very sad. And this is Reverend Dr. Darrell Watkins. He is senior pastor of Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church. He lives in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Good evening, Darrell.
Hi, summer is coming to an end. I have a very specific goal, and that is to lose my 2019 winter weight by the end of the winter of 2020.
Was that serious or a joke?
Half a dozen and six.
Okay. And this is Dr. Ty Hauser. He is a progressive college professor from Wilton Manors, Florida. Welcome, Ty.
Good evening, America. Hi, Al, everyone. March 15th was my birthday, and we've been on lockdown, and I haven't really left the house since then. So I'm hoping that someone can deliver me a piece of cake.
All right. And this is Jay Phoenix. He identifies as a bottom, a drag queen, and a cannabis activist. He is moving to Coral Gables, Florida, via Cuba and Puerto Rico and Nebraska, and he loves Madonna and Vogue. Good evening, Jay.
Good evening, Al. I'm hoping my summer ends well. Unfortunately, I'm married to a husband that uses me as a continuous, Vaseline-less flashlight. But we're here now.
And this is John Holt. He identifies with non-culture definitions. It sounds like anti-culture to me. And lives in America's largest gay campground in Dade City, Florida. Good evening, John.
Good evening. I've been spending my summer laying around the Sawmill pool drinking chocolate martinis. So now I think I'd like to go up to the mountains of Asheville, North Carolina and do some hiking. Anyone want to come with?
Yeah. Oh. No. Wait. There were crickets. I heard crickets. This is Taisha Best. They are asexual and polyamorous them. Hello, Taisha.
Hey Al, welcome aboard everyone. I have been spending the summer being blurred. I am looking forward to finishing my summer leveling up my World of Warcraft Warlock, Go Alliance, as well as wearing all the wigs that I want to wear before putting on my flight attendant uniform again.
I love the lavender. It's beautiful. And this is Amber Taylor. She is a feminine lesbian. Are you ready, guys? With big dick energy. She lives in Wilton Manors, Florida. Good evening, Amber.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It is big, I must say. Something I really look forward to doing before the summer's over is grabbing a girlfriend and going to the nude beach before the summer comes to a close.
In America, you've got to come to South Florida because we have a nude beach. Absolutely.
Wonderful.
And this is Elimination Onyx. He is a sex-positive leather pansexual from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Good evening, Elimination.
All of this illuminates, I know. Good evening, kinky humans. It is the end of summer, and I'm just holding tight that one day I'll be able to go into a dark corner with a warm booty and just dance the night away.
All right. Not the rest of everything, just the warm booty?
Just the booty. I just need cakes, like right here.
Okay. And America, tonight we introduce you to a unique new host at Gay Town Hall, and that's you. Participate in the Facebook comment thread tonight. Production can bring your comments right in and onto the screen and can even place you in the live conversation with these hosts and our discussion. We encourage you to participate in the thread and tell us what you think. Have your voice heard. Welcome as America's voice on Gay Town Hall. So let's jump right into what we want to talk about tonight. First, let's tonight begin with COVID-19 and our healthcare response. I have sat down for an interview with an RN whistleblower from here in Broward County about the state of our COVID-19 response and how frontline workers, healthcare workers, are being put at risk. The full and complete interview has just finished airing on Queer News Tonight. Here's a quick summary from that interview. Watch this.
Correct.
The first time you were tested is July 3rd, which is only after Broward Health Imperial Point Hospital knew that they had this outbreak taking place in your unit.
Correct.
So in January, February, March, April, May, and June, through 6 months of 2020, you were never tested a single time.
Correct.
Well, we encourage you, America, go to Queer News Tonight and watch this interview. Alleged by these healthcare professionals is that testing had not been going on in the hospital. They were not issued N95 masks. They had a major outbreak 4th of July weekend where 11 healthcare professionals were tested and got COVID, and over a period of time, 2 doctors tested positive, a med tech worker who died last week, July 29th, which has caused the whistleblower event. And yesterday, the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, came to Fort Lauderdale and did a press conference with, who else? The CEO of Broward Health, holding Broward Health System up as one of the shining examples in Florida of the great response that they have had for their employees and healthcare workers and their patients. And this whistleblower and others completely contradict that. I start the show off by asking all of our hosts, what do you think about healthcare in America? Are healthcare workers heroes? And what do you think about what's going on in COVID?
Well, they're heroes just like teachers and like firefighters and like police and like all the rest of the heroes that don't get paid enough.
Well, I even add them to another step. I mean, yes, in normal world, they are heroes. They don't get paid enough, but now they're actually frontline heroes. I mean, they're not only putting their bodies, they're putting their minds, they're putting their families out there. And the fact that we can literally say that we're not taking their livelihood serious, that we're not taking their life serious, is a shame. And this just goes to show where we are in this state of the Republican government, that it's okay to put on a show. It's okay to put on a farce. And let's not be truthful and run the risk of losing our bodies and our human beings and not taking civilization serious. This is a shame.
This is a major hospital in Broward County, though. If they aren't testing the people working in the hospital, they are contributing to the spread of COVID. And our COVID is rampant here in Broward County, and this is obviously a contributing factor.
I have a friend who is a nurse who has been complaining about the mask situation since this all began, for a different health organization.
We all know nurses here in Broward who have been complaining about there's no protective wear available to them. There's not enough. They should be able to wear the N95 instead of just the paper mask.
More importantly, like, the equipment that is required for them to protect themselves is not even delivered to them. We have to sit here and worry about our healthcare workers, our physicians, our interns, people who are putting their families at risk right now.
This is very concerning to me. This is very concerning to me. Everybody in my family is in the healthcare field. Some families are police families. Everybody goes into the police force. Some families are attorneys. My family is all of them are in the healthcare field. But let me put on my journalist hat for a second and ask a question of you, Al. Did you at Q News Tonight? Did you guys ever get a response from the hospital? I mean, we heard from the hero. I don't call him a whistleblower because whistleblowers usually stay in the shadows. He came right out and said what he said, so he is another hero to me. But did you guys get a response from the hospital?
We did not. 2 inquiries to make comment, and of course, I would have sat down for an interview. 2 inquiries did not get replied to. And
That's shameful.
One other thing that I want to point out to Jay's observation about equipment. The whistleblower in the interview says that PPE is critically low, including gloves and sanitizing wipes, and tells a story about how nurses are hiding sanitary wipes so they can have them to be able to fulfill a shift, and that they don't have enough, and that the N95 masks are displayed in machines. So if OSHA or someone comes in, they can see that the hospital has N95 masks, but none of the healthcare workers are allowed to touch them or use them from the dispensary. It's quite a shocking.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that they're hoarding. As someone who's, again, in the airline industry, there's been many co-workers in the airlines across the board who have also hoarded sanitary wipes. And that's basically because we are realizing that this government isn't actually interested in public healthcare and public safety. They're interested in quelling what they call riots, aka police brutality. So the money is going there and not to quelling the pandemic. So again, this speaks to the lack of compassion towards those who don't have the buckets of money to put them in an elected office. So the only ear and advice that they're actually taking from are those who actually aren't at risk in these front lines, like those of us, as Power said, who has family members, and people like me who actually is a frontline worker who, again, I'm off this summer, but I have workers who step on the airplane wondering if there's enough items to keep the airplane actually safe for customers as well.
Yeah.
And
I had to go actually to a doctor's visit today, and I was offered an opportunity to have a COVID-19 testing done. And I watched as the nurses and all the staff members running around crazy. She actually explained to me that how much her life has had changed, and that she is so tired and exhausted. She hasn't even had the opportunity to go ahead and spend time with her family. And this is just a simple doctor's office. And so it's affecting not only the hospitals, but also the doctor's offices within the hospitals themselves.
And Darrell, I'm going to give you the last. I believe you were going to say something, and I'm going to make yours the last comment.
I just wanted to say that whether it's a government or a corporation, institutions fund their priorities. And so if healthcare is a priority, they will make these things happen. They'll fund it. It's like that well-known scripture says, money talks and bullshit walks.
Yeah, absolutely. America, we highly encourage you to watch this interview. It literally is going to shock you. It broadcast tonight on Q News Tonight, Queer News Tonight. One thing that is an overriding shock to me, beyond not issuing N95s, is until July 3rd, how could you get through a major medical facility, the major facility here in South Florida for the gayest place on planet Earth, and never have been tested for COVID in January, February, March, April, May, June, until the first time of July 3rd, 2020. How
Totally
is
shameful.
that possible?
Shameful.
Absolutely disgusting on the president's order.
Our healthcare workers are heroes. We don't treat our heroes that way. Watch this interview. It is going to shock you. Let's move into our LGBT topic of the week. I don't know if y'all have heard, there's this little secret out there. The presidential election is just 3 months away, less than 90 days. Have you heard? Power, have you heard? And one of the most important decisions for presidential nominee Joe Biden looms large. This is who LGBTQ America wants to be Joe Biden's vice presidential candidate. We are probably literally hours away of the announcement, and it may surprise you. Before we begin this conversation of what y'all would like and America would like, watch this.
Whose names have been mentioned to be being considered are fabulous women and well prepared to step up and do the job of vice president.
Absolutely. I do feel that I could do the job.
As Biden reviews his options, CBS News analyst Robbie Mook, who led Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign, said the former vice president is likely trying to answer two main questions.
Who do you think is prepared to be president of the United States if something happens to you? But also, who do you want to be your partner? In the West Wing and in the White House.
The Democratic Party has a host of fantastic choices on LGBTQ issues to pick from when wanting to know who would be best for the community. Tammy Baldwin became the first out lesbian in Congress in 1998 and has been an able advocate in Congress for over 20 years now. Senator Elizabeth Warren was one of the only people urging President Barack Obama to evolve on same-sex marriage, which he would go on to do a few months later, making her a key, if understated, part of our history. Then, of course, there is Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, who has proven she knows how to stand up to the Republican governor of Georgia, knows masks are indeed a good thing, and has long advocated for and pushed or pro-LGBTQ policies in her city, such as establishing the mayoral LGBTQ advisory board. One thing is clear: there are many fantastic choices to pick from when Biden makes his choice.
Well, Gay Town Hall thanks Aaron Darr, anchor at Q News Tonight, for setting that up. Of course, that's the question on everyone's mind. Who is going to be the vice presidential companion for Joe Biden, and who does the LGBTQ community want? Darrell, let's start with you in this conversation.
I think the queer community wants someone who is smart and tough and beautiful and a friend of the queer community, but I understand that Michelle Visage declined. So I think that for me, Dr. Rice is certainly my top priority. Right, my top pick right now is Dr. Rice. Senator Harris would be number 2, but every person on this list would be amazing. I would be happy with any of them.
Yeah, I really like Kamala Harris as one of the picks, but I'm wondering, can she serve as vice president but then be appointed to the Supreme Court? I mean, could that possibly happen? That would be interesting. And I have a lot of respect for Mayor Bottoms, but I'm wondering if Bottoms can turn Georgia bottoms up for blue. I don't know that she has that. I don't know if she has that.
Always looking for the bottoms up. Always looking.
Yeah. Negative bottoms. I just personally don't agree with the options right now. Like he said earlier, we need someone that's going to be on point, and I feel that Alexandra Cortez was one of the options that was not even mentioned and wasn't even brought up or considered. I feel the woman is not only good for VP pick, but she's done more than any other VP picks at the moment, and has actually worked in the industry, in my opinion, from what I've been seeing in terms of involvement. She's on news networks, she's on social media, she's in gaming networks, on Twitch. She actually has worked. She's worked a regular job just like any one of us, but she's actually getting involved. And no matter where you go, you see her name. I just feel she would have been a better option. But for me, I guess Camilla.
So I think that America, let's just move beyond the LGBTQ, America is ready for a woman. Let's just be clear. America is ready. It's time. We're calling it. We're demanding it. Secondly, I think that America is ready for a person of brown persuasion that looks as beautifully melanated like me. We're ready for it. It's time. I also think that because of all of their history, and there are many beautiful women to choose from. However, those are my picks, and I won't choose one or the other, because either way we're safe, because these women have been consistently fighting for not only me, but for the LGBTQ. They've been fighting for humans. They've been fighting for us in general. When you go back, look over the history of any of the influential acts that has happened, it's been those women that are out there fighting for it and fighting for their people and their constituents. And so it's time, America. It's time to get out, vote by mail, vote by hook, by crook, vote for whomever, that brown, beautiful, melanated woman that's going to be beside him. Make it happen.
I think that this is probably one of the most important decisions that Joe Biden is going to make in this campaign. I mean, this decision can literally make or break his entire campaign, and we know that we are really, really depending on Joe Biden to make the right decision, because we have got to win this. If you remember John McCain's disastrous decision to pick that bimbo, what's her name, Sarah Paulson, or whatever her name is, Sarah Palin.
Don't insult Sarah Paulson.
Sarah Palin. You know how
horror story.
Oh my God!
It was a horror story.
We saw how that worked out for him, and I think that for me, I also believe I'm with Pastor Darrell on this, that I think that Susan Rice would be the best choice. I really, really, really love Kamala Harris. I really do. But just from a strategic standpoint, we Democrats, we seem to eat our own. And any little thing that any bitch does that is problematic, we're ready to cancel. And Kamala Harris has a lot of baggage that needs to be unpacked. And a lot of people don't see it. Yes, she's very popular. I love her to death. I personally would vote for her or anybody. But a lot of people would pick and nitpick over some of her past her past activities.
Definitely.
And Susan Rice, on the other hand, Susan Rice, on the other hand,
Taylor was running. I wish Amber Taylor.
Well, Amber's not running, and you interrupted me. Excuse me, you interrupted me. So, like I was saying, I think that Susan Rice would probably be the safest pick.
She's way more electable, I agree, than Kamala Harris.
So.
At the moment, she totally is.
I would give a counter to that, and I would say that Susan Rice is quite the academic and would be great in the administration, but not necessarily in the elected position. I think the two senators, Warren and Kamala Harris, right. I think the two senators are someone that you should look at because they know how to deal with a campaign, and also, you've got to take seriously that they could become president, and so you want someone who appeals to the American people. So the two senators are probably your best bet.
Wait. Hold on just one second. Allow me, please, for a moment, and we'll come back to it. But John takes us onto a path that I want to pursue with all of you. There is a lot of the Settle Joe movement. A lot of people are saying, well, Joe is fine because we'll settle on Joe. Because anything over Trump is fine, we'll settle on Joe. But there are a lot of people saying that at his age and his capability, he may not fulfill a term, and that's why a vice presidential candidate is so vitally important in terms of experience, who they are, what they represent. Do you all agree with that?
How old is he? He's just as old as Trump is.
He's 77. No,
Joe
Biden is 7 years old.
How old is Joe Biden? Really?
77.
77. Okay.
He will be the oldest candidate running for president in history.
Ever.
It's also people are going to think about this when they go into the voting booth, right? This is what they're going to think about, and so you got to make sure that they are comfortable with who's running all the way down the ticket.
I actually don't think that age is going to be the main issue. The problem is, a lot of the black community has talked about this, we are picking between a huge racist and a kind of a racist person. So, like, when we're talking about a VP pick, we need someone that can offset the problematic old cis white man that we continue to elect, thinking that the status quo is what is going to change America. And also, if we're going to talk strategy, we need to leave the senators and House of Representatives where they are, because we need that power base to remain the same if we're going to have the Democrats lead both of those houses so that we can overturn and reverse all of these policies that Trump has put in place. So my pick actually would be Ms. Rice, other than the senators. And AOC is great. However, we again need that young energy in Congress to be able to spur that wave of queer folk and black and brown folks to come into the office.
There was a comment that popped up from one of the viewers just a bit ago.
Yeah.
There was a comment that popped up.
Go ahead, Todd.
Sorry. Yes, sorry. There was a comment that popped up from someone. I forget the person's name. I apologize. But the comment was basically, if we're talking about electability, we need kind of a Midwestern moderate. Because remember, we do have to reach out to the entire country in terms of winning the election.
And we also got to think about that we need
Karen Bass of California.
Well, we need someone who's able to pull in their state and pull in their votes, and so we need to look at those histories. So when he's looking at a potential candidate, we need to see their likability at their home. We need to see where they're able to pull in their votes where they are, and so typically, a governor, a potential, a former governor or current governor would have been wonderful, something like that, because we know they can pull a state. We need to see where they are, how they can attract their people, and how they can eliminate, as Al called me, a two-party. Because the thing is, that's going to be the shine. That illumination is going to be the shine and carry the Democratic Party over.
I want to draw to your attention to Taisha's point. Brian Garrett has said, we have it on the screen now, Biden's vice presidential pick is important because it indicates what he's thinking of about his cabinet position. So a similar point, keep your political base in place. I'm sorry, elimination. I just wanted to draw attention.
No, but even to that point, though, again, we have as the movement happening with Black Lives Matter and gender and individuals out in the street, we've been talking about voting. We've been talking about what has not been happening in our country, and so we are well aware of we need representation across the board. We know that we need to get rid of that old mindset, and so I do believe that we can bring in new life forms. We can bring a new AOC. There's an AOC running out there right now. We just haven't found them.
I want a black lady. I want a black lady to do it.
I do want a black lady. Let's be clear. I want a beautiful melanated person.
I want a black lady.
A second, though.
Y'all keep talking about beautiful. Y'all keep talking about I don't give a damn if they look like. Let's go back to the conversation, though, because there's a young person in Illinois, a young senator who's like 20-something, and she ran and is making history as a young representative in Congress. So they're out there. What we have to now do is show the diversity, and that's going to happen as long as we keep pushing forward. And we need our representation, our leaders, to look like our bodies is making moves.
I'm giving everybody a heads up that we're going to close this conversation in 2 minutes. I do not know if y'all are aware. Power has a write-in campaign in the Tampa Bay area of Florida. He is willing to nominate a couch from Rooms to Go to be president of the United States if it will get rid of Donald Trump.
Anything.
Is that true, Power?
Anything.
Yeah, exactly.
There's an alligator out there in one of those canals.
They talking about they worried about how old Biden is. You can raise Tutankhamun for all I care. I don't give a damn. Just get Trump out.
Luckily, Power, why aren't you taking the position?
We need Power where he is.
That's right. And I got a rap sheet. I got a rap sheet, so I can't be president.
Baseball jail doesn't count as a rap sheet.
So luckily we have a great cadre of people for vice president. So we don't have to get a couch. We have some excellent people. Yeah. And let's hope that Biden makes an excellent choice so that we can easily beat Trump.
Does John's point surprise all of you? Can you remember, let's say in the last 20, from Clinton in 92 on, can you ever remember so many really super viable vice presidential candidates?
You're the only person old enough to remember that.
I think back then it wasn't as crucial. I feel like we were just going with emotions every election because we had gotten complacent and comfortable with mediocrity. And I will say that word till I'm dead, but this country is mediocre right now, and this is the result of it. Yeah. And this election is very important, and I am glad that they are taking the time to choose those women who are best suited for the position, considering that when we had the original Democratic elections to nominate for president, we settled on Joe Biden, even though I personally don't feel he was the right pick. However, he is the status quo pick, which is what America needs. And so now we're going to have, again, offset that status quo with something that's going to be comparable and reach that intersections throughout America without leaving anyone out and them not wanting to vote.
Let's take Taisha's challenge. I've got to close this conversation on the vice presidential candidate, but let's take this challenge. I want to go through each one of you and you just tell me a name. Please don't tell me why. Just the name. Prepare. I'm getting ready to ask you. Your vice presidential candidate for Joe Biden is Power?
Susan Rice.
Matthew?
Karen Bass.
Darrell?
Stanford and Oxford graduate Dr. Susan Rice.
Houston? Yeah, well, wait, hold on. Congratulations to the pastor for slipping in more words than I wanted him to do. Hi.
Rice.
Susan Rice. Jay.
AOC.
Oh, I love that. John.
Elizabeth Warren.
Taisha.
Dr. Susan Rice.
Amber.
Susan Rice.
Elimination.
Woman of color.
Be specific, please.
Really loves women.
Rice Harris.
Which one?
Rice Harris.
Okay. Which one? That's two people. Which
He doesn't like to choose between women. He's
Rice.
known for that.
Rice. Rice.
Okay, so Rice has won the Gay Town Hall straw poll. Tonight, on Queer News Tonight, all of the white people that are anchors at Queer News Tonight, the show endorsed and asked Joe Biden to pick Kamala Harris. And we did an editorial opinion from the show of why Kamala Harris should be the vice presidential nominee. And none of you said Kamala Harris. Very, very interesting. These next hours are going to be fascinating in terms of what we watch. Great conversation. I've just absolutely loved it. Now, let's move into another topic that we talk about, and it's a situation about COVID, but a different kind of conversation. We call this topic segment that we're getting ready to do called In Gay We Trust, because we think the gay community can help be a beacon of what's going to be next for the community. We've walked the walk in terms of the struggle. So we're devising a plan for what's next and how we're going to mourn what has happened in America. Before we have this conversation, watch this.
Next we queer up gay culture. In Gay We Trust, devising a plan for mourning in America. Watch this.
Today, more than 60,000 Americans have died from a deadly virus Donald Trump ignored. With the economy in shambles, more than 26 million Americans are out of work, the worst economy in decades. Trump bailed out Wall Street, but not Main Street. This afternoon, millions of Americans will apply for unemployment, and with their savings run out, many are giving up hope. Millions worry that a loved one won't survive COVID-19. There's mourning in America, and under the leadership of Donald Trump, our country is weaker and sicker and poorer. And now, Americans are asking, if we have another 4 years like this, will there even be an America?
Paid for by the Lincoln Project, which is responsible for the content of this advertising.
To anyone who has spent extensive time in the broader LGBTQ community, death feels almost like an old friend waiting for you at every corner. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues on and we begin to grapple with how we're going to mourn the loss of life from what appears to be a disastrous government response. When we mourn, it won't be the first or last time as a community. We grieve during the AIDS epidemic. We mourn whenever a member of our community is assaulted or killed just for existing. We mourn for Pulse, and yes, we will mourn for COVID-19 victims too. This time, though, it genuinely feels as if the rest of the country will be joining us, maybe for the first time. And how we mourn as a country may very well define the next decade in America, socially and politically.
Well, again, we thank Queer News Tonight and anchor David Hopkins for that report. COVID-19 has ravaged our country. We know this. 60,000 deaths in that report. It's 160,000 tonight. For us, this is not the first time that a national tragedy has struck close to home for the LGBTQ community and forced us to learn how to cope with loss. In Gay We Trust, devising a plan for what's next and mourning in America. Let's go to our spiritual expert, Jarrell. Let's begin the conversation. No, I'm sorry. Let's begin the conversation with Taisha.
Hey, thanks, Al. So, I mean, this is a very serious, plan that we have to discuss and talk about. We as the LGBTQ community have already been through a massive mourning process when it comes to an entire culture being struck with death continuously. And, America is now understanding that the citizens are not being categorized as citizens, but more consumerists. So because of that, there's a little bit more unification coming along when it comes to the fact that, the government does not care if you are dead. There are others to replace you. So now that the entire country understands that they are replaceable, there are more policies and more protests coming and the fact that we have to address the minimum wage, we have to address our healthcare system, we have to address our housing situation, and a lot of people are realizing that it matters now because it's directly affecting you. When it was during the AIDS and HIV, it mattered to us because it was directly affecting us. Now that it's affecting everyone, more people are on board to have a unified response against a government who does not care about its citizens.
So I want to take this in slightly a different direction. I don't think we mourn as a country, and I think we've proven that with all the gun violence. We send thoughts and prayers, and then we move on, and we don't mourn as a country. We get on with ourselves. We mourn in communities. So when a community is affected by gun violence, that community mourns. When a community is affected by a pandemic, that community mourns. But as a country, we don't necessarily do it because we care about our kids until it's time to take away the free babysitting and send them back to school.
Wow. Well, I would say, like the HIV epidemic, the gay people learned to take the pain and the sorrow of that and turn it into meaning and make a difference in the world. And so I'm hoping that the United States will see the error of our government's ways and take these deaths and turn them into meaning to make a better place to live.
This is such a hard time for our community, and so many people have never really been in this situation in this generation, and they're learning new ways to cope with not just everyday life, but in some states like Florida, California, Georgia, Washington, NYC, where it's mostly affected, they all have to learn not only to mourn a coworker or parent or loved one, but now they have to not only take care of themselves, but take extra precautions every time they leave the door. And we're now living in a new normal. It's going to be a while before we go back. And right now, like Ty said, that I don't feel like we are mourning as a country because we are still dealing with issues that radicalize what we're going through right now. It just sucks that everyone right now they're scared, and you have every right to be scared. But at the end of the day, the only way we're going to get through this is not by thinking as individuals, but as thinking as us, as we. And that's the only way we're going to get through this together.
We can't remember that we...
I think that the big problem is because we have not a solid president that could actually speak for the people. It's not like we had Obama sitting there ensuring us, talking us through that we can work this together. Instead, we're defending for ourselves. So everybody is going ahead and just fighting for what is going to save their life and their own family's life. And because of that, that's the reason why this community is so broken the way it is.
So can I just say that there are periods and parts of mourning, and let me just say that 4 years ago, Black folks we began to grieve. We began to grieve this country and for this country 4 years ago, and we've been the longest because we knew what was coming. I know, Al, you often mention about when you were on the boat with the queens, how you went to bed one way and woke up another. So all of us, some of us began to grieve then, and so we've been in mourning. We've been consistently grieving. Well, there's parts of mourning. There's acceptance of it. There's grieving of it. There's how do we move on? And so what has happened is now, as Taisha mentioned, there's other folks coming on to grieve in this part of the process because. And over the 4 years, there's been situations where our siblings had to grieve and mourn their loss of healthcare benefits. We've lost family members because of the taking away of Obamacare. So we've been constantly mourning and grieving, losing and not being recovering. And as someone mentioned earlier, now that it's now a whole because now all of folks are grieving jobs. Folks are grieving their loss of homes. And so we are all into a status quos of mourning. We just now all getting to the same place together because now it's totally affecting us as a whole. And if we have 4 more years, we are not going to recover because now the moment that if and when he gets there, we are now all starting from scratch because now some of us are going to get there because now those of us who have been low income, there's going to be a lot more added to that low income group, regardless of color. It's now a global society. And so now I always felt that Donald Trump will never get his just due until he hurts middle America and folks who look like him. And now that he's truly affecting folks who look like him and Caucasian folks who are now poor, who are fighting for their homes and fighting for their farms and fighting for lives,
Very powerful.
they're going to be the ones, and not that I wish death on anyone, but if it ever gets to that point, it won't be a person who looks like some of us brown and black folks. It'll be someone that looks like him that's going to take them out because he's hurt them. We as Taisha mentioned, we've gotten to a situation where we can overcome. We've learned to be complacent. We've learned that, tomorrow's got to come. Because we learned that growing up, tomorrow's going to come. Tomorrow's a better day. Forget, it may rain tonight, but tomorrow's a sunshiny day. But some folks have never learned that lesson because they never had to. And now they have to because everyone has had to apply for unemployment. Everyone has to apply for food stamps. Everyone has to worry about that pink slip on their door when they come home about being evicted. Some of us have used to that, and we've overcome it. He's made it so that now it's a general.
I want to the observation, very powerful what you just said. I want to fold Reverend Dr. Durrell in what you do leading the largest queer LGBT church in the world. I imagine you have dealt with countless funerals, countless individuals in the mourning process. What's your perspective of what you've watched in the last 6 months with the amount of death we've seen? It closed the church for what seemed like eons. Our whole world, our whole gay LGBT world has been turned on its ear, and we mourn every day, but it's like we're walking through a sleep mourning. What's your reaction of what you're seeing and what you tell, and how do you comfort? It must be completely new and difficult for you.
Al, I did 100 funerals in 3 years, all before I was 30, and never for anyone over the age of 50. Back in the early 90s, I was an AIDS chaplain. I was the hospital visitation and funeral guy. That was my ministry for 3 years. And COVID has been triggering. COVID reminds me that COVID is a time of intersectionality. COVID is a flashback to AIDS, the AIDS crisis. It is a flashback to the Great Depression, and it is a flashback to Jim Crow. COVID has brought to our awareness some of the worst periods of American and have brought them all together in our present. Mm-hmm. If we don't care about that, and if we don't respond to that forcefully and at the ballot box, then I'm afraid there's no help, and there's no hope for us. If we think that this is okay to vote for more of this or to not vote at all, and I realize there are nefarious forces to keep a lot of people from the ballot box, we have to work harder than they do to overcome that because there's no other hope. This is a time of intersectionality. This is 3 or 4 of the worst times of American history, all brought together. The AIDS crisis, Jim Crow, the Great Depression, and we have to rise up, or I'm not sure that we will ever. First of all, the same was never good enough, so I don't know that we want to look the same, but we will never recover. We will never be what we want to be if we allow this to continue for 4 more years.
Wait.
Right, and when we talk about the...
Wait, please. I want to pursue just a little bit more. Darrell, you are, in your field, a frontline worker. You're a frontline worker, just like Taisha said in air and the air industry. We've talked about in terms of the hospitals, but you're a frontline worker. And in the LGBT community, in terms of what you saw in AIDS, you're a frontline worker of what we've seen in the last 6 months in COVID. 160,000 deaths were unimaginable when we celebrated New Year's Eve. That's what 2020 would bring us. That was unimaginable. How do you get through, you as a frontline worker in your industry, please forgive me for being crass, but how do you deal with it on a day-to-day basis? And do you cry? And how do you deal with this? How do you mourn?
I remember in the AIDS crisis, I would do so many funerals that sometimes I would have to go to a funeral that I wasn't doing, that I wasn't presiding at, to cry for all the ones I didn't get to cry for before because I was just too busy. So I'd have to go to sort of an anonymous funeral and just cry for the last 7. You know what I mean? You have to cry, you have to mourn, you have to work through it. And so, yeah, of course I cry. Of course, I grieve, and of course I mourn, and we all do. Luckily, grieving is a healing process. Grieving gets us back to hope. Grief gets us back to joy. So yeah, that is how I do it. Is that I allow myself to grieve because we have to. But before, it was a marginalized community dealing with AIDS, and it's always been a marginalized community dealing with sickle cell anemia, or with Hep C, or with addiction, or it's always been marginalized communities. Now that there is a virus that is absolutely no respecter of persons, maybe finally we will summon the human compassion to care and to share, because this honestly could be your mother, this could be your son, this could be apparently now even your pet. And so now that this is an absolutely ubiquitous and universal condition, I went to a college of a town of 10,000 people. I grew up in a town of 60,000 people. When you say 160,000 people, that is more people than I ever even knew existed until I moved to Dallas, Texas, and then to New York City. When I grew up and went to college in small towns, we were already talking about more people than populations of places I spent the first quarter of a century of my life in. But somehow statistics don't move us, only stories move us. So just like when we had to come out because if you knew someone who had struggled, then suddenly you gave a shit. The same thing, we have to tell these stories like this brave nurse did earlier tonight. We have to tell our stories because people relate to stories. People can't even comprehend statistics. 160,000 almost sounds made up. Talk about the one person you know that died.
It's an abstraction in many of our heads, it's true. And it's become that, I feel like, for the majority of the country. But one thing the gay community is good at is teaching prevention. And I know that we can have a hand in keeping ourselves safe and just leading the cause and wearing a mask, washing your damn hands. I mean, we have to be able to take some preventative measures and not be part of the problem.
And we're so smart. We're so smart, gay people, because not only are we good at prevention, we are good at harm reduction. We know that there is a step even between don't do it and just throw caution to the wind. There are even steps between that, and we know that. So there is prevention. There's also harm reduction, and we can lead the way in that. We've been doing it forever.
Absolutely. And Power, I'm going to give you the, I have 1 minute. I'm overtime anyway, but I'm going to give.
Oh, child.
Speak, Power, speak.
Ain't no speak. And just let's go on to the next person, girl. Let's just go on.
I will. I'll just go on then.
Yes, go on.
I will. All right.
Yes.
So we're in a situation in our third topic tonight where we're going to talk about the LGBTQ community and talking about how we're affected by our big tech lives. Before we get into this conversation, watch this.
Next week, we're at business. The LGBTQ community considers what's next for our big tech lives. Watch this.
The chief executives of America's largest tech firms, Apple, Amazon, Google, and Facebook, faced harsh criticism on Wednesday from lawmakers who accused them of abusing their market dominance.
Simply put, they have too much power.
Most Republicans concentrated on claims their platforms censor right-wing voices.
Big tech's out to get conservatives.
But both sides of the aisle appeared to agree that the four tech titans engaged in unfair business practices to squash competitors.
How many competitors did Facebook end up copying?
3.
Last week, the CEOs of some of the biggest tech and social media companies appeared before Congress to answer questions about supposedly crushing their rivals and slaying the competition in their respective industries. It was clear that all of them took hits during the proceeding, with one notable example that directly impacts the LGBTQ community, being that Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos was positioned to possibly allow anti-LGBTQ organizations to receive donations through Amazon Smile due to questioning and probing by Florida Representative Matt Gaetz. We have to wonder, as politicians eye those big companies more and more, what will be the end result? Will the watchful eye of government prove to be a benefit to our community, or Will bigotry be allowed and encouraged under the guise of religious freedom and fundamental rights?
Well, we thank Queer News tonight, the report from anchor Misty Eyes. Congress is calling out the big tech CEOs to answer questions about competitive balance and their practice forces, and to reconsider how we use social media and the internet in general. And the LGBTQ community considers very specifically what is next for us in our big tech lives. Grindr, Facebook, TikTok in China versus Microsoft, a variety of issues. Is tech even important to us in the LGBTQ community? And we want to talk about what's next here. And let's begin this conversation with Power.
Well, I don't consider myself a big tech person, actually. I mean, I always joke that I can barely email, which is amazing being that I'm a DJ. But, you know, tech is very important to the LGBTQ community because of the fact that it really is something that helps us in our social engagements. Of all the communities, we have really taken off when it comes to and benefited when it comes to technology. For myself, who is an activist, it is very, very vital and very, very important. And especially in this pandemic era, we like to stay connected. But I do have a question for those that are watching and also for my fellow host, because I'm on the fence with this. So as I sit in Facebook jail, so I'm mad. I'm
still in Facebook jail?
Of course, you know.
Always in Facebook jail.
I will be free. I'll be free next week, Friday. So I'll finally be free from the clink. But as I sit in Facebook jail, mad because of the fact that I feel like companies like Facebook have no type of regulation. On the one hand, I don't want to see these big companies regulated by the government. But on the other hand, I feel like if there's no type of regulation at all, there is absolutely no type of restraint, there's no type of oversight, and they can get away with any and everything. Case in point with Amazon. So the question to all our viewers out there, and you can comment in the stream, as well as to my fellow hosts, do you guys think that there should be any type of regulation at all when it comes to big tech companies like Facebook, Amazon, Twitter, the like?
I think it's kind of petty that whenever someone like us goes live, for example, on Facebook and everything, we are held accountable for what we say. But when the company or the CEO decides to campaign with other people and allow that toxic, that toxicness in social media, mind you, nowadays, you used to just hear a little bit on the newspaper, but we evolved in technology. So there's an up and down, but it's also, they should be held accountable in certain regulations. And this should be regulated every single week since they're on top of millions of people using
Regulated
Facebook.
like what, though? Do you want to censor people? I mean, it's really unconstitutional to tell people they can't talk about whatever their opinion is, whatever it may be, even if you hate it.
It's
more like regulating the people who are in charge of
that
social
go ahead
platforms.
and speak about this is the two most verbal people on Facebook that make their own little live videos and are constantly in and out of Facebook jail. We got Power and Phoenix. They both are the biggest ones that are always in Facebook jail.
I was going to say, Jay, I didn't know that, Jay, you're in jail.
Oh, are you kidding? They switch back and forth.
Wait, that's why I'm asking. Jay, are you in Facebook jail a lot?
I am very vocal, so I get put in jail a lot, sometimes for 90 days.
Oh my God, that's a long time.
Not even I've made it for 90 days. For example,
doing time. Hard time.
Things, for example, I don't know if this can be regulated, but there's no type of accountability for platforms like Facebook. For example, in Facebook, did you guys know that you can be violated or blocked for saying the word white? But if you are a white person and you say the word nigga with the A at the end, it's okay. So
Preach.
Yeah. So So there is like, and there's nothing that you can do. It's not like you can write Facebook and say this is unfair, or there's no customer service hotline to reach at Facebook. There's nothing. So on the one hand, like Amber said, I really am adverse to regulating these type of platforms, because I think that government should stay out of it. But at the same time, I think that on the other hand, I think that maybe there should be some sort of regulation to hold these platforms accountable when things go really off the rail.
I agree. I think it's really interesting that Congress has taken the time on several occasions now to talk to these companies. They obviously feel threatened. They obviously think that these companies have too much power. And I think that their main worry is that they're tilting the playing field either against conservatives or against Democrats or whatever. Yeah. And so it's a real problem. It's a real problem for the country. What do we do with these guys? And, I don't want to regulate free speech either, but I also don't want corporations running my government.
Well, I think it's not just about regulating free speech.
Social media it takes over. Social media alone, they use the media to go ahead and sell your products, sell the industries. Not only that, to also regulate, like Ty, like you said, how the election is being run. And so, of course, like for instance, Donald Trump is right now attacking TikTok. It's all because of why? Because TikTok is firing back at him with the TikTok funny videos that's insulting him. So he comes up with conspiracy theories that it's because China's stealing data. Any type of competition when it comes to the technical companies, they will find some sort of excuse to go ahead and shut one another down or say that they're copyrighting each other.
You know, I've never asked this question before. Power, I want to ask you, because Power and I've done It's Happening Out, by the way, at the end of this month. We will cross our 100th episode anniversary, and September 20th, we are going to cross our 2-year anniversary at It's Happening Out, doing it Power and I together. Power, I've never asked you this about your observation about Facebook. Just in general, as I know you're going to be totally honest about it, whether you like it or not, you're going to be totally honest about it. Is some of Facebook's response to you in terms of how they mute you, has it been reasonable on Facebook's part? Or are you always right and they shouldn't do it?
No, of course not. I've certainly given them much ammunition and much warranted reason to, my mouth is nasty. I said that from the get-go. Y'all know that, honey. My mouth is nasty. I'm petty, and I'm a nasty bitch. That being said, Facebook is very inconsistent. Okay, so when it's very inconsistent. So when they say, okay, this is a community standard and you can't say this. And so you say, okay, I'm not going to say this. So you feel that, okay, well, I can say this because this has always been all right. One day, Facebook will wake up and say, okay, you know what? This is going to be a new violation. And it's not like they put out a mass notification and say, okay, well, this is something you can't say now.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday
you just have to follow your profile.
Yesterday was okay to say this, and then today you say it and you get in trouble.
I certainly don't want Mark Zuckerberg deciding what I can say and what I can't say. That's for sure.
He has no right.
Can I give you an example?
The censorship
example of what Power just said. And by the way, at Queer News Tonight, Power has not been an anchor, a guest anchor sitting down in the chair because we're deathly afraid of. No, I'm only kidding. But just this week, to Power's point, they had that big white trash bash event in Illinois where they have this big festival called the White Trash Bash. At Queer News Tonight, now I can say that because we're just talking, but at Queer News Tonight, we reported on that event and how it was a concern of becoming a super spreader in COVID. And at Queer News Tonight, in our lower third and our headline titling, we had to change it to call it the Caucasian garbage bash.
No way.
We did.
Stop right now. Stop right now.
I'm not kidding.
Who is offended by white? Who is offended by that word, white?
I know. That was Facebook. And we said, wink, wink, America, LGBTQ America, you know why we're doing this? Because they'll pull us off the air. If we
but being offended isn't the level of rule, right? I mean,
what is it then?
I don't know, but that shouldn't be it because
it's racial bias. It's racial bias. It's racial bias. It's racial bias.
Call it what it is, Taisha. Call it what it is. Call it
racial. Okay, I can explain. Like, so black people be calling out white racism, and racism is usually geared towards white people.
Notice we have a 2-minute warning. 2 minutes.
Right, so I can be very short about this because it does not take a lot to call white people racist when they're racist. So when we talk about white people being white trash, that is the reason why Facebook came in and started censoring it. It wasn't because white people were using that language, it was because black people were using that language. Right. When black people were calling out white people, we saw a lot more censorship. So when we talk about whether or not tech is needed, yes, tech is needed. What we don't need is the racial bias. What we do need is accessibility. I think tech has been great, especially during COVID concerning accessibility. There's been a lot more people who have those noise sensitivities and transportation issues and all that who've been able to participate in social interaction that they usually don't. And I'm hoping that once COVID is over, that the tech companies realize this and other organizations, businesses, clubs, and all that realize that there are demographics and niches that they haven't reached that they only decided to give attention to due to COVID because everyone again was affected and had to stay home.
And this is also it's financial as well, because I personally have been in Facebook jail for a variety of reasons. But I will say that what I personally have done as an experiment was I saw the marketers, people who are marketing underwear, for example. I love to show all of this. And so what I've done is I mimicked a photo of a person who's marketing their underwear, and I mimicked the exact same photo, but I landed in jail for indecency. But the person who's modeling Calvin Klein is okay. Why is that a problem when it's the exact same photo, the exact same photo? And it's
inconsistency.
I'm not paying for that. I'm not paying for
it. This is all going to wind up in the Supreme Court, and until we get rid of lobbyists and limit corporate donations, big tech is going to do whatever the fuck it wants to do.
Yeah.
True that. That is so true.
Is the privileged white guy sitting here tonight the only one that hasn't been in Facebook jail? I've never been in Facebook jail.
The other privileged white guy has never been in Facebook jail.
I've never been in it. Never.
I've never been in Facebook jail.
I feel very attacked.
I haven't been in Facebook jail.
Multiple times. I'm a multiple offender, but again, partly for showing all the goodies. I'm afraid about the elimination. I mean, hey, with my mouth, I mean, call it what it is. I mean, I have a big dick energy and a big ass mouth to tell you what you know and you wrong. Hey, it is what it is.
It is. Wait, didn't the president say that this week? It is what it is.
But I can back my stuff up positively, not with their foolishness.
Hey Al, you're just not living on the edge unless you've been in Facebook jail.
Yeah, is that it? Okay, all right. Well, it's a very interesting conversation. I apologize. We're going to close the conversation, but we should follow Europe, because there's a lot going on in Europe on this exact same thing. They're moving in the exact same way that in conversation that we are in the United States, except they have moved much faster and much stronger in saying, you're not going to affect our society and our people in the way that you think you are. And already the social media companies have had dramatic changes in Europe that they have not had in the United States. And it is because probably our leadership. We'll continue to watch this closely. I want to end tonight's show by bringing many of this week's, oh, and by the way, I have to draw attention to one of the comments that was just up there. Power likely didn't see it, but you've got fans that are just cheering for you, by the way, dude. I'm just saying. We end tonight's show by bringing many of this week's LGBTQ stories to America's attention and to Gay Town Hall host. But let's do it in a totally new and unique way. I am going to give you the story's headline that appeared in the news this week, and then the hosts are going to write the story right before your very eyes, commenting on it, but with a twist, in just one single sentence. We call this segment Just One More Sentence. Makes sense, doesn't it? I'll call a host name and you will comment in just one more sentence. So is everyone ready? I guess we are.
Let's go.
Gay Town Hall's Just One More Sentence. Let's write the story. Just one more sentence. Story in the news this week, talking about the moment you knew you were gay. Let's start with Power.
Well, since I was a tender, young, innocent age.
One sentence.
I just choked.
Since I was a tender, young, innocent age of 5 or 6, I knew that I loved men's. I knew I liked men's. But when I actually recognized and accepted that I was gay was when I came out at 20 years old in a seedy bookstore in Miami.
Matthew.
The Never-Ending Story with Rossaroni playing as a trio.
Darrell.
In the 70s, as a kid watching Match Game and realizing that Charles Nelson Riley was me.
Houston. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Ty.
I'll probably always be about a 4 on the Kinsey scale, but the moment my British boy walked through the door and I realized I couldn't stand or speak, that was the point. Also, Ricky Martin.
Jay.
I saw penises and I loved them.
Right.
They were everywhere in middle school, all over the freaking shower room.
John.
When I was about 15 and I sat around trying to figure out how to get a boy to come over to my house and get naked.
You still do that?
I still do.
Yeah, Taisha.
Nothing's changed. Because this one time at college band camp, I did make out with someone. It was delicious.
It was delicious. Amber.
I knew that I was a lesbian when it was my turn.
Elimination.
The moment I knew I could put that there and make their eyes roll in the back of their head and their mouth scream, I was hooked.
Wait, I'm going to pause a moment.
I'm getting chills right now.
11, next story.
Wow.
11 sexy, sweaty men stripping off their clothes this week for Broadway Bears. Darrell.
You know, people using their bodies to help bodies that have been compromised is a beautiful and sacred act.
Ty.
I'm a perky little porn star from Skokie, Illinois. My mother doesn't like my job at all.
Jay. John.
I'm somebody's husband.
Oh, okay.
Somebody's husband.
John.
Actor Mark McKillop, you are so sexy. I am giving until it hurts. It's for a good cause.
Taisha.
Take my money. Also take my bra. I don't know what you take, but I will give it to you. As long as you continue being naked around me, I'm good.
Amber.
I'm never against nudity. I'm pro.
You're a pro, is that what I understood?
Nudity. Pro nudity.
Shake 1, 2, swivel those hips, make those tips. P-Valley on sedation.
Power.
This was sex appeal and all the good feels.
And Matthew.
Been there, done that, got the receipts, and keep dancing.
Now it's time for something out of this world. The headline in just one more sentence is, historic first time ever space splash landing in the Gulf of Mexico. And oh, by the way, Mars gets a helicopter. Ty.
Every time I see a splash that big, everyone's covered in rubber, so I don't really know.
Jay.
Oh no.
Jay.
I love men in suits.
Say again, one more time.
I love men in suits. I apologize, my internet's acting up.
I understand. John.
Thank you, Elon Musk, for dreaming big and bringing the best and the brightest with you for an exciting future.
Taisha?
So long as the aliens don't come, because they ain't missing out on anything right now.
Yeah, we don't want their blood or their DNA because
Don't come here. There's nothing for you.
Elimination.
They are coming to collect their trash. Donald Trump, go home.
And Amber.
I have really no comment about this. It just threw me off with the aliens. I feel the same way. I don't want aliens anywhere near us. Please, God, that is my biggest fear.
Oh, wait. Note to self. Power. Power.
Oh, well, another small step for mankind and one step closer to Uranus.
Matthew.
Cute. That was cute.
Trust me, the aliens aren't coming over here. They're over there on watching us making a fool of ourselves.
And Darrell.
All of this splashing and these blades, it sounds a lot like water sports and edge play.
Oh my God, that's my
Pastor. Yes,
That's
Pastor.
my
Yes, Pastor.
My
Is he flagging yellow under there?
He's flagging yellow.
Flagging yellow?
Exactly. We all
flagging yellow.
Response. Okay. All right. I'm a big fan, a really big fan of horror movies. So this next one really excites me a lot. The headline: LGBTQ America is excited as Courtney Cox returns in Scream 5. Jay.
I'm sorry, repeat the question again.
I can. John.
It just makes you want to scream, doesn't it?
And Taisha.
Courtney Cox, I love you. You're so hot on that show. You know where that's from? Damn it. What? I'm not telling you.
She's just whatever. I don't get what the big deal is. She's an okay looking chick. Am I missing something here?
Yes. Elimination.
Picture it. Screen 5. Gail Weathers telling us Donald Trump was just elected.
Oh. Elimination is frozen again. No, he's not. He's not.
No.
Power.
Okay, child.
That's it.
Matthew.
That's it.
So somebody please kill this movie off already.
Oh, I love Scream. Darrell.
Heard that Courtney Cox was actually being considered to be Kanye's running mate, or was that Courtney Love?
Ty.
You know, I've seen him big, I've seen him small, but I've never seen a Courtney Cox.
Good.
Wow, wow.
I guess this is one way to get a free tour. The headline in just one more sentence this week, and it's true. Egypt has invited Elon Musk to visit the pyramids to prove to him they are not built by aliens, because he thought they were. John.
The Pharaoh's wealth was redistributed to 25,000 workers over 20 years, building a monument to him. So, Trump, are you listening?
Taisha.
Elon Musk just proves that you can make a lot of money, but that doesn't mean that you're intelligent.
Does it change anyone's mind that he's made $50 billion already in 2020?
He's the stupid billionaire.
Wow.
Amber.
Everything he does, I'm like, wow. I mean, this is a guy who had his factories open during COVID. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not a fan of his. Not a fan.
Elimination.
Okay. Shh. Be very quiet. I smell bleach. Elon, stop whitewashing my history. Let my people go.
And power.
My question is, I mean, if he really believes this, how exactly are they going to change his mind? They're going to take him back through time? I don't understand.
Matthew.
Will somebody just seal the pyramid door and lock him in there already?
And Darrell.
I I'm no stranger to the anal probe. or people believing bizarre stories. So, just never mind. Hashtag glass houses.
Ty.
So, in all seriousness, there is no academic consensus on how these things were built. But the Egyptians want to say they weren't built by aliens? Beats me.
And Jay.
Honestly, I know I'm gonna sound like the crazy one, but Elon Musk, can you just make a hyperloop? We can want to get to Egypt in like 5 minutes. I'm okay with that.
All right.
He's doing a hyperloop project.
Yes. This next one makes me feel like I'm a little kind of over the hill, but I'm also proud. So here's the headline of just one more sentence this week. Moving beyond he and she, as we found out that a very significant percentage of LGBTQ use are non-binary in their pronouns. Amber.
Well, I think that my generation and those younger than me find gender and gender roles alike to be a little bit frivolous.
Elimination.
They and them will make America great again.
I love that. Power.
Well, it's a bold new world when all of them can be who they want to be.
Oh, nice. Matthew?
This just shows that diversity is coming in a way of that we're looking at each other as human beings.
Darrell.
I love it. I'm all for it. If for no other reason than it pisses off the fundamentalist.
You're proud, by the way. That's your industry, by the way. And Ty.
As a cunning linguist and for etymological reasons, I wish we had better words. However, if non-binary people want to use them, then I'm all in support of it.
The college professor says cunnilingus. Jay.
Living your truth and set that example so that other people can live in their truth.
And John.
This rapid change is blowing my mind.
How ironic that we end with somebody who identifies as they and them. Taisha.
I'm all for knocking down the non-binary system that makes America patriarchal one fucking day at a time.
Yeah.
LGBT culture, next story, is becoming more and more mainstream. The headline in just one more sentence this week, oh, this is a good one for me too. It scores big in 2020 in Emmy nominations, the most ever, including Schitt's Creek, and are you ready for it? RuPaul's Drag Race. Wait. No, wait. I've got to search. I'm looking for this. Oh, I found one. Power.
Oh, girl. Hopefully we done filled our RuPaul Drag Race talking quota for the month. Congratulations, Schitt's Creek, and you too, RuPaul.
That's right. And Matthew?
The LGBTQ community and the Emmys was built by Bob with that song Green.
And Darrell.
There are so many gay nominations this year, they should change the award to the Rimmys.
Okay. I'll take that one.
Pastor. That is my pastor. Do not laugh.
Woo, all these flags, my gosh.
I know. Ty.
I'm going to shout out to my divine diva, the divine Miss M, the people's diva, for her nomination for her work on The Politician. All the other divas, please sit down.
Jay.
I am just happy that we are getting out there, whatever show it is, as long as it's from our community, I'm fine with it.
And John.
Oh my God, queers doing good in show business? Who would have guessed? Good luck at the Emmys, y'all.
Taisha.
I would like all the divas that did not get nominated from the Pose cast, aka all the black trans women who fucking rad their fucking season, to also stand. And I salute you, even though the Emmys did not.
Elimination.
Right on.
I've got this to say. Angelica Ross, MJ Rodriguez, and Dominique.
Yes.
Dominique Jackson, damn.
Next
headline. Better work.
India Moore.
A fact.
India Moore, damn.
Next headline. A fact that seems to hang over the United States now. The headline of just one more sentence. This week in 1934, Hitler merges the offices of Chancellor and President, and then declares himself Führer. Let that sink in for a moment. Darrell.
On a serious tip now, autocracies are deadly, cruel, oppressive, and ultimately they fail and fall. Hashtag vote.
Yeah. Ty.
I just hope our republic remembers that we have 3 branches of government with equal power, and we vote that way.
You know, it does not escape me that we asked this question of drawing attention to history in 1934, and now we go to Jay, who has a very interesting screen behind him. Jay.
Oh, this thing, I don't want it to happen. This little thing, it took me like a few minutes. I love this. But at the end of the day, we don't want the example of Hitler running around.
Yeah. And John?
I don't see similarities now, but if Trump wins in 4 years and after the Depression, I can definitely see similarities then.
Amber.
Vote, people. Vote. Stop making excuses and vote. Send your shit by mail. It works. It's not corrupt. Vote.
Especially in Florida. My president told me so. Taisha.
Those who don't remember history are doomed to repeat it.
Yes.
Elimination.
Good point.
Have you all checked that bunker downstairs? I bet you that's where Trump is keeping that guy, and they got that special kind of lube relationship.
You said
lube relationship.
Matthew.
For a second there, actually, I was confused by this whole question. I thought we were talking about Trump, or are we talking about Hitler, because they both seem the same.
And power.
You know, if we don't keep our eyes on our focus on our goals, Adolf Hitler is going to try the same shit.
Next headline. A major victory for the LGBTQ community happened on this day. Just one more sentence headline. Today. In 2010, California's Prop 8 prohibiting same-sex marriage was overturned by the courts and began the process of U.S. Legality of gay marriage. Ty.
I'm going to go with the Prophet Paula Abdul. We take 2 steps forward, we take 2 steps back.
Jay. John.
The plaintiffs, Chris and Sandy, are still together, the ones who brought the suit, and they wrote a book about the whole trial to the U.S. Supreme Court. So read up on that for your history.
And Taisha.
I now pronounce you person and person.
Amber.
I love marriage, and I love the benefits of marriage, and gay people certainly deserve them. So it's nice to celebrate those little wins that we get, even if we are taking 2 steps back.
Elimination.
Stand, be counted, elimination for president, elimination for mayor, no matter what you do, hashtag vote.
And power.
Cannot with you.
You know, this just once again proves that we've come a long way, but we still have miles to go before we sleep.
And Matthew?
Love will always be between 2 people. A piece of paper does not matter.
And Darrell.
My husband and I have been married for 20 years. The government has known about it for 5.
Yeah.
And our final headline story that we're going to write tonight is a bit of history. Trump makes the wrong type of history. Our headline in just one more sentence. Today, in 1965, President Johnson makes the Voting Rights Act law. Every president since 1965 has extended it except Donald J. Trump. Elimination.
Donald Dump, why am I your worst fear? 1965 is knocking. It's ready to come back out. Stop running.
Power.
Yeah, if it's suppression, oppression, persecution, or inequality, yeah, it's Trump.
Matthew.
Trump's just going to find somebody else and everybody to blame if he doesn't get the election. So let's just sum this whole night up and vote.
Darrell.
Please vote religiously. The country you save may just be your own.
And Ty.
Who knew a little prick with a ballpoint could ruin something that a massive Johnson with a great sword opened up?
And John.
Democrats must become the majority in the Senate so that we can get the VRAA, the Voting Rights Advancement Act of 2019, passed and stop all voting suppression.
Yes.
Taisha.
Please go read The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander.
Yeah.
And we end tonight in our last headline with Amber.
I would say par for the course with this president, doing the same thing with the voter oppression as he does with every other kind of oppression, which we knew before we voted him in. Why don't we have better options for presidents?
Well, there you have it, America. Something totally unique for the LGBTQ community. These amazing hosts and several surprise hosts that you have not seen yet tonight. We'll be here every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, totally live and unscripted. You can participate in the conversation and come into our conversation if you'd like. We are marching towards November 3rd, 2020, and the election of a lifetime. We face COVID-19, race issues, trans rights, your paychecks, unemployment protection, our social and sexual interaction, and how the LGBTQ community fits into all of these issues. We are living currently the most important single moment of our entire lives, and it will all be discussed right here. Tell your friends and family, share this conversation, participate in this conversation. We either are a community or we are not, and I challenge you at this moment. You only need to look into the eyes of the incredible diversity you are seeing in front of you to know we are a strong community, and we need you to join us. So thank you for joining us tonight, and until next time, the conversation is just beginning on Gay Town Hall.
Bye, child.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace out, bitches.
Thank you. Come again.